Tom Cruise made headlines when he jumped on Oprah's couch, expressing his love, but what followed was a turbulent marriage with Katie Holmes, engulfed in the controversial world of Scientology. Katie, who has remained relatively silent about the ordeal, is now, at 46, ready to reveal the truth about their relationship, including secret calls to Nicole Kidman, the use of burner phones, and being watched by Scientology spies. Katie Holmes grew up in Toledo, Ohio, as the youngest of 5 children in a close-knit Catholic family. She excelled academically at Notre Dame Academy, maintaining a perfect 4.0 GPA, participating in theater, and performing in plays at nearby boys' schools. In 1996, she scored 1310 out of 1600 on the SAT, high enough to be accepted into Columbia University, although her passion for acting soon took precedence. Her journey began in 1992 when she attended a local modeling school, which led to the International Modeling and Talent Association competition in New York in 1996, marking her first step into the industry. Despite having no acting experience, her natural talent was recognized, and she secured representation. One of her audition tapes, recorded in her basement with her mother's help, caught the attention of director Ang Lee, landing her a role in The Ice Storm before finishing high school. Her breakout came with the TV show Dawson's Creek, where she played Joey Potter from 1998 to 2003, earning widespread acclaim and becoming an icon of teenage television. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise, born Thomas Cruise Mapotha IV in Syracuse, New York, had a turbulent childhood marked by constant moving, abuse from his father, and struggles with dyslexia. Despite the challenges, he found solace in sports, particularly wrestling, but an injury redirected his path. At one point, inspired by faith, he considered becoming a priest, enrolling at St. Francis Seminary. However, his time there ended abruptly after being caught in a mischief involving stolen liquor. Back in regular school, Cruise discovered acting and felt a newfound sense of purpose after performing in a school play, setting the stage for his future as a Hollywood star. At the age of 18, Tom Cruise made a significant decision with the support of his mother and stepfather. He dropped out of high school and moved to New York City in 1980 to pursue his dream. Without connections or money, he worked as a busboy to survive, clearing tables and working long hours while attending auditions. Shortly after moving to Los Angeles, his luck began to change as he signed with the Creative Artists Agency, one of Hollywood's most prominent talent agencies. In 1981, he landed his first film role in Endless Love alongside Brooke Shields, followed by a more prominent role in Taps that same year. In 1983, The Outsiders brought him more attention, and later that year, his performance in Risky Business, especially the iconic scene of dancing in a shirt and underwear, propelled him to stardom. By 1986, his career soared to new heights with Top Gun, the year's highest-grossing film, cementing his global fame. In 2006, Premiere Magazine named him Hollywood's most powerful actor, while Forbes deemed him the most powerful celebrity in the world. With an estimated net worth of $600 million, his films have grossed over $12.2 billion worldwide. Behind this success, however, lies a story of struggle: a boy who moved frequently, a student who faced reading difficulties due to dyslexia, a teenager who once aspired to become a priest, a busboy with big dreams, and an actor who never gave up. At the start of the 2000s, Katie Holmes and Chris Klein were among the brightest young Hollywood stars. She was known for Dawson's Creek, while he gained fame from American Pie. They started dating in 2000 despite living in different states and working on separate projects. Their relationship lasted nearly 5 years, with Holmes filming in North Carolina and Klein in California. After 3 years of dating, Klein proposed in December 2003, and their engagement appeared stable. Holmes once remarked that despite limited time together, they made it work. However, in March 2005, the engagement ended, confirmed by Holmes's publicist, while Klein later reflected that their career's fast pace had altered their relationship. Just weeks later, Holmes was seen with Tom Cruise, making their first public appearance in Rome in April 2005. The timing surprised many, especially as Holmes had expressed a childhood dream of marrying Tom Cruise less than a year earlier. On May 23, 2005, during an interview on The Oprah Winfrey Show, Cruise's infamous couch-jumping moment, expressing his love for Holmes, stunned viewers and sparked media frenzy. While Oprah later defended Cruise's excitement as genuine, the incident remained iconic. Shortly after, in June 2005, while promoting War of the Worlds in Paris, Cruise announced their engagement just 7 weeks after going public. The proposal at the Eiffel Tower marked a whirlwind romance that had begun less than 90 days earlier, leading to Holmes converting to Scientology shortly after. On April 18, 2006, exactly 1 year after their first public appearance, Holmes gave birth to their daughter, Sui, amid intense public interest. Tom Cruise's introduction to Scientology occurred in the mid-1980s, after meeting actress Mimi Rogers, who introduced him to the religion. They married in 1987, but the marriage was short-lived. Years later, former Scientology executive Marty Rathbun claimed the church played a role in their divorce, as church leader David Miscavige reportedly did not want Rogers around. Despite the divorce, Cruise's commitment to Scientology continued for over 3 decades, with his faith becoming increasingly public. In 2005, during an interview on NBC's Today Show with Matt Lauer, Cruise's intense response to questions about Brooke Shields' use of antidepressants after childbirth, dismissing the idea of a chemical imbalance, became one of the most talked about moments in celebrity interviews, drawing significant public attention to his beliefs. Tom Cruise has openly criticized psychiatry, calling it a pseudoscience. During an interview with Matt Lauer on NBC's Today Show, when Lauer suggested that some people might need medication, Cruise became increasingly assertive, insisting that Lauer did not understand the history of psychiatry as he did. For 14 minutes, Cruise discussed topics such as medication, electric shock therapy, and Scientology's belief in treating the mind without drugs. Nearly 2 decades later, Brooke Shields shared her perspective in her 2025 memoir, revealing that Cruise visited her house to apologize, explaining that he felt cornered by Lauer and lashed out at her instead. Although Shields accepted the apology, she admitted it was far from the best apology she had ever received. Cruise's boldness stemmed from more than just personal beliefs. His close relationship with David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, also gave him confidence. They first met in the late 1980s and formed a strong bond, with Miscavige even serving as Cruise's best man at both his wedding to Nicole Kidman in 1990 and his wedding to Katie Holmes in 2006. Their friendship was described as intense, with shared activities like smoking cigars, playing tennis, and skydiving. Some insiders claimed that Cruise saw Miscavige as a role model, and the church reportedly provided Cruise with a private villa at its Gold Base headquarters in California. However, some former church members, like John Brousseau, claimed that Miscavige mocked Cruise behind his back, suggesting that the church valued Cruise mainly for his fame and the attention he brought. In January 2008, a major incident occurred when a 9-minute Scientology video featuring Cruise was leaked online. Filmed in 2004 when Cruise received the church's Freedom Medal of Valor, the video showed him making bold claims about Scientology, asserting that Scientologists were the only ones who could help in emergencies and that they were the true experts on the mind and drug recovery. Despite the church's efforts to remove the video by sending copyright takedown notices, it spread rapidly, provoking widespread ridicule and anger. In response, the hacker group Anonymous launched Project Shenology, targeting Scientology's websites and releasing a video declaring their opposition. Meanwhile, another story was unfolding: Cruise's relationship with Katie Holmes. In April 2005, just 2 months after they began dating, Holmes announced that she had joined Scientology during the Batman Begins premiere. This sudden shift shocked her friends and family, as Holmes had been raised Catholic. Her childhood friend, Hasim, noted that the change caused tension within her family. Just 3 days after her announcement, Cruise proposed to Holmes. Soon after, Holmes gave an interview with W magazine, but it wasn't a typical press interaction. She was accompanied by a Scientology representative who controlled the questions, indicating the church's increasing influence over her public presence. Friends and family grew more concerned, noting that Holmes's once regular visits home became rare, and her interactions with loved ones diminished. On November 18, 2006, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes married at the Odescalchi Castle in Bracciano, Italy, a grand event attended by celebrities like Jim Carrey, Jennifer Lopez, and David Beckham. The wedding featured Renaissance-themed flag bearers, an ivory silk gown designed by Giorgio Armani, and a 5-tier white chocolate cake. However, not everyone viewed the event positively. Leah Remini, a former Scientologist, later criticized the wedding as a publicity stunt to promote Scientology, rather than a genuine celebration of love. Katie Holmes soon found herself increasingly isolated, with her life closely monitored by Scientology members and even Cruz's own staff. According to Marty Rathbun, a former high-ranking Scientologist, Holmes's life resembled that of someone under surveillance, with people constantly reporting on her activities. Cruz's staff, including his sisters, reportedly feared David Miscavige more than Cruz, sharing every detail of Cruz's personal life with him. Holmes's unease grew when she learned that Cruz planned to send their daughter, Sui, to the gold-based Scientology compound in Gilman Hot Springs, California, known for its intense training and isolation. This was the final straw for Holmes. In mid-June 2012, while in China, she began planning her exit carefully, using disposable phones to contact her lawyers in New York discreetly. She also reached out to Nicole Kidman, who had experienced a similar situation during her divorce from Cruz in 2001, and the two spoke multiple times as Holmes devised her escape plan. Nicole Kidman advised Katie Holmes to stay strong and be cautious while planning her exit from her marriage with Tom Cruise. To avoid detection, Holmes regularly swapped out phones. By the time she called Cruz in Iceland on June 28 to end the marriage, she had already hired 3 law firms in 3 different states. Neither Cruz nor the Church of Scientology anticipated the move, and insiders later described it as one of the most significant setbacks in Scientology's history. 2 months before filing for divorce, Holmes made a strategic move by quietly firing Isabella Cruz, Tom's adopted daughter with Nicole Kidman, from her fashion label, Holmes & Young. Isabella had been working closely with Holmes and even called her Mom, so the sudden dismissal raised eyebrows. However, after the divorce filing, it became clear that Holmes wanted to cut off any link that could give Scientology access to her personal and professional life. Holmes chose to file for divorce in New York rather than California, a calculated legal move. In California, courts are more inclined to grant joint custody, while in New York, if parents disagree, the court typically awards custody to one parent. Holmes aimed for sole custody of her daughter, Sui, knowing that New York laws favored her position. Additionally, New York allowed her to file the case anonymously, keeping matters private, whereas California would have made everything public. Holmes had even rented a Manhattan apartment weeks before the filing, ostensibly for privacy but actually as part of her careful planning. Holmes did not navigate this ordeal alone. In the months leading up to her departure, she connected with people who had left Scientology, including Jenna Miscavige Hill, the niece of David Miscavige. Jenna had become a vocal critic of the church, describing it as mentally and sometimes physically abusive. After the divorce filing, Jenna publicly expressed support for Holmes, encouraging her to stay strong. Holmes also maintained communication with Nicole Kidman, who had lost contact with her adopted children after her own divorce from Cruz. Kidman offered emotional support, telling Holmes to hang in there and empathizing with her struggles. Surprisingly, the divorce was settled just 11 days after filing. A prenuptial agreement dictated the financial terms, with Holmes receiving no spousal support from Cruz's $250 million fortune but securing $400,000 per year, around $33,000 per month, in child support for Sui until she turned 18, totaling $4.8 million. Cruz also agreed to cover Sui's medical expenses, school tuition, and other activities, and he established a trust fund that Sui could partially access at 18 and fully control in her 30s. More details surfaced over a year later during a legal deposition on September 9, 2013. Cruz admitted that Holmes's departure was partly to protect Sui from Scientology. Though he found the question offensive, he acknowledged that it was one of the reasons. He insisted there was no need to protect Sui from the religion, but the statement confirmed what many had suspected. Holmes had been involved in Scientology during the marriage but left the church immediately after filing for divorce. Cruz also admitted that Sui was no longer practicing Scientology, and his older children from his marriage to Kidman had completely cut ties with Holmes. The deposition also revealed that Cruz had not seen Sui for 110 days following the divorce, despite his claim of talking to her on the phone almost daily. During that period, Cruz was seen socializing and traveling, raising questions about his involvement in his daughter's life. In another poignant moment, Leah Remini, who had left Scientology in 2013 after nearly 3 decades, spoke about Holmes on Good Morning America in 2015. Moved to tears, Remini expressed admiration for Holmes's courage, acknowledging that Holmes left Scientology to protect her daughter. Even before the divorce, Holmes demonstrated her determination to defend herself. On March 1, 2011, she filed a $50 million lawsuit against Star magazine after it published a cover story suggesting she was a drug addict. The case was settled on April 27, 2011, with the magazine issuing a front-page apology, stating that it did not intend to imply Holmes was battling addiction. The publisher also made a donation to Holmes's chosen charity, the Dizzy Feet Foundation, which supports dance education for underprivileged children.